Good morning and welcome back to Planet Doug behind the scenes for, I don't even know what day it is. Thursday, August 24th. It's 10 after 6 in the morning. I've been awake for a little while already. I've already had a cup of coffee. I'm in a new city called, I think it's called Painan. In terms of pronouncing it, I think it's pronounced Painan. It's like 70 or 80 kilometers south of Padang. And I'm in a new guest house, obviously. This is more like a homestay called the Bumimi. And I'll talk more about this place where I'm staying later on. And this homestay just happens to be quite near the major mosques in this neighborhood. So, of course, you get I'm up on the second floor as well, and there's like windows and things around. So the very loud call to prayer, it comes in here and wakes you up. Even with earplugs, I made sure to sleep with earplugs because I knew the call to prayer was coming. I was walking around this neighborhood last night having dinner and things like that, and walked right by the mosques right during the call to prayer, and it was loud, and I knew that was going to be part of my life here. When I was staying at the Wisma Rumah Kita in Padang, I really noticed how quiet it was, because in the village near Bukit Tinggi where I was staying, there was a lot of just general village noise with the animals and motorcycles, farmers getting up early, going to the fields, and the sounds from the mosques traveled vast distances, so it was really quite loud. You just woke up before dawn. The call to prayer would start at 4:30 in the morning and go on for 30-45 minutes. It was a very long procedure. But then I came down from the village, from Bukit Tinggi into Padang, moved into that hostel. And at the hostel, for whatever reason, there just happened to be no mosques around that area. I guess it's Chinatown. So there were a lot of Buddhist temples, not as many mosques as you would normally find in each neighborhood. It was around Padang, when I was out driving around, exploring, going to different restaurants and cafes, I would hear the call to prayer all the time. But just so happens that right at my hostel, it was there wasn't a mosque right next door, so I wasn't woken up in the morning by the call to prayer. But here, I'm back into that. So I've been awake for a while. Earplugs didn't help, Luckily, I went to bed early, so like getting up at 5 in the morning. You hear people talk about getting up early and what a chore that is. But that's kind of not a logical way to look at it. It's not really what time you wake up in the morning. The time is irrelevant. It's the amount of time you had to sleep. So, if you go to bed at 9 o'clock at night and get up at 5, it's 8 hours, right? So like getting up at 5 in that case is not a hardship because you got your 8 hours of sleep, which of course I never do because I find it so hard to fall asleep. It takes me forever. And I don't really sleep that deeply. So it's sort of more like I lie on my bed for 8 hours until I look at my watch. Well, I guess it's time to get back up again. I don't do that deep dive into sleep. I'm so jealous of people that do. I wonder how they feel, when they wake up in the morning. It must be a nice feeling. Recharge their batteries. I'm more like I'm a GoPro battery, constantly at 10%, starting the day at 10%, just eking out that last bit of energy to get you, through the whole day. So yesterday, pretty nice day, casual day. I mean, no big adventures that I can remember, but a lot of small, interesting things. I shot video the entire time. It started relatively early in the morning. Maybe I was on the road by 7:30. I can't remember. I was sort of pre-packed. I packed the night before as much as I could, got the scooter ready. Well, I didn't get the scooter entirely ready because I forgot to get gas. But I pre-packed, had everything ready to go. And in the morning, I packed up. It's always a funny experience, though, because I do things like change light bulbs. And in that room was a very high ceiling, and I had to pile furniture on top of each other, and I'm perched on top of the desk, and it's one of those IKEA desks, practically. If you stood in the middle of it, the whole thing would collapse. So I had to figure out a way to stand on the corners and balance myself carefully so that the whole desk doesn't, fall over. And then I had to go on tiptoe in order to get my hand fully into the light socket to remove their light bulb, which cast no light at all, and then put my own light bulb in. So of course, part of my packing up procedure in the morning is to reverse that procedure. So the very last thing I need to do before I get on the scooter and go, before I pack up and go, is get back up on the desk and get up in there and take out my light bulb and put theirs back in. So my last packing steps were done practically in the dark, because the light bulb they used was like this low energy bulb, but it also stopped working. When you first hit the light switch, you get this burst of light, dim light, but it did light up the room, but after 3 or 4 minutes, for some reason, it would go completely dark, cast just sort of this glow, almost like there was a candle burning up there. And when I left, I was wondering, one of these things with these hostels, budget hotels that I tend to stay in, a lot of things are broken, a lot of things don't work, and then you wonder whether you should tell people about it, because I usually just work around them, but at the same time, maybe they need to know for the next guest who comes in. It's like, oh, that foreigner, he stayed in this room, and then we came in to clean when he left, and the light bulb wasn't working. Why didn't he tell us? So I always wonder, should I tell them or not tell them? Because sometimes when you tell them, you make your own life very, very difficult, because now you have all these arrangements as people are trying to fix whatever problem you've pointed out, and often these problems can't be fixed, and it ends up being a big deal. So I usually just let things slide. But as I was leaving, I was wondering about the checkout procedure as well, because every hotel is different. Some are very serious, and you have to sign things and get deposits back, and then they have to go up and they check your room. You give them the key, then they go to the room. I always like to think charitably of that they're checking to see whether you've left anything behind. But more, of course, what they're really doing is checking to make sure you haven't stolen anything and that you haven't broken anything. They just check out the condition of the room, and then if everything looks good, then you get your deposit back and you can go. And the guys at this hostel were very friendly, very warm, and one guy in particular, I couldn't go in or out without some sort of a social interaction with him. I kind of feel bad about that too sometimes. If you move into a new neighborhood, on your very first day, there could be people in your neighborhood or people in your guest house, and then if you walk by them and like they're sitting in the lobby, and then you make eye contact and you say hello, you say good morning, you say whatever, now you've established a precedent that you have to do that every single time you pass them. It's just like it becomes something you have to do. I often compare my life to a Seinfeld episode, and there was a Seinfeld episode, I believe, entirely about that topic, because one of the characters, I guess I don't remember this episode that clearly, but I think it was Jerry, who said hello to someone, I guess in his building. He pointed out in the show, in the episode, that everybody had this habit of saying hello to everyone all the time in the lobby, going in and out, hello, hello, and everybody knew everybody's name. And he decided to put his foot down. It's like, oh, for Pete's sake, this is ridiculous, greeting every single person every time I go in and out of the building. He didn't want to do that anymore, and he announced he just wasn't going to do this anymore. And of course, because he didn't do that, he became the pariah of the building and caused all kinds of trouble for him. And I think the co-op board or whatever was going to kick him out of the building, because they had the habit of these greetings that had been established by a tradition, and now he stopped doing it. And that's often how I feel. So when I went in and out of this hostel, the Wisma Rumakita, there was one guy in particular who was there. He seemed to be there all the time, 24 hours a day. He worked there, he did the cleaning, and then he slept at night on a mattress. They just pulled this mattress out of a closet somewhere and put it down on the floor, and then he would sleep on that mattress in the lobby. And in the morning, I was always like tiptoeing past him, because I parked my scooter inside the lobby area. That's new. Siren. It's not a special time. 6:21 siren. We'll see if it happens every morning. Yeah, the scooter is parked in the lobby for security. So the first thing I have to do every morning when I go out is get my scooter and then roll it out the front door. And they have these doors, doors. They're like big steel doors with glass in them. But over the years, most doors fall down on their hinges a little bit so that the corners scrape against the floor. And if you just grab the door and pull it open, it scrapes against the floor. It makes an extremely loud noise. Like it scratches against the floor. So I want to open the door without making that noise because I don't want to wake up the poor guy. He works hard enough as it is. He needs his sleep. And he seemed to be in a pretty deep sleep. He's one of these people that I'm jealous of. Maybe that siren was part of the mosque, because there's some sort of speaking coming out over the mosque speakers now. And so what I do, I learned with these doors over the years that what you have to do, of course, is you pick the door up. So you grab the handle and then you lift the front of the door and then you move over and then put it down again. Because if you just drag it, it scrapes against the floor, but you can lift it and move it. So I'm, in the morning, I'm tiptoeing past this guy, trying not to wake him up. And I'm usually dripping with stuff, because I've got the GoPro I'm going to mount on the scooter. I've got another GoPro. I've got the helmet. I've got my knapsack. And it's very easy to bang something against the desk, bang it against the door. I have to put everything down. They have a bench near the door. I try to lightly put my helmet down, put the GoPro down. And so I have my hands free to lift the door and quietly move it to the side. And then when you open the door, of course, the noise of the outside world comes in, the roar, if there happened to be anyone going by on a motorcycle, and when someone goes by with a loud engine, I'm like, shh, don't wake this guy up. Then I go back to get my scooter, tiptoe past him again. And the scooter does this really funny thing, because it's always parked head first normally. Because sometimes they bring it in, sometimes I bring it in, and you just sort of roll it in and leave it there. But now in order for me to get it out, I have to turn it around. So I pull it out backwards, and the rear wheel on my scooter has a squeak when I go backwards. And it sounds exactly like the backup beeper of a garbage truck. The big trucks, when they back up, you go beep, 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 beep. My scooter does that with the wheel. So every time I pull it backwards, it goes beep, 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 because the wheel squeaks on every revolution. And it honestly sounds exactly like a backup beeper. And then that starts happening, and I'm worried it's going to wake the guy up. So I'm like, beep, 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 beep. I'm trying to do it very slowly and carefully. And then I'm rolling my scooter out, being very careful not to hit the handlebars against anything. And finally get everything outside. And I have to go back in and pick the door up again, and slowly move it back into position. So that was my morning routine there. Not sure why I was telling that whole story, but that was how I, get in and out. And I didn't have to do that yesterday because I was leaving later. These other times was earlier in the morning, or it would be on the weekend. I think most of the time when that happened, it was a weekend. And I think they're young guys, and they would be out late Saturday night. So they sleep quite late Sunday morning. And I think most of the guests are late risers as well. It felt like I was the only person there the last week that I was staying there. I hardly saw any other people, nobody going in and out. So the staff could sleep in, So even if I was leaving at 8 in the morning or something, they'd still be sound asleep on the mattress. But anyway, there's a young guy, as I said, he's always in the lobby, and he's always sitting there normally on this sofa or arrangement of chairs. And no matter how many times during the day I came in and out, if I was doing like a non-scooter day and I was just exploring my neighborhood and going out getting different meals 3 times a day, I might go in and out, many times a day. Every time I went out and every time I came back in, he was always on his phone, of course, doing something like everybody on his phone. And then he would look up and give me a big smile and say hello and give me a greeting, and I have to do the same thing to him. So he was the face of the hostel for me. But there was one other guy, a more senior person, who was doing a lot of the books on the front desk. He was there yesterday morning when I was checking out, and he didn't have the same, friendly demeanor. Nice guy, friendly guy, but he didn't insist on greeting me every time I went in and out. And I was curious whether my leaving was going to be an event of any kind, because I'd stayed there unusually long for a foreigner like me. We wouldn't normally stay in one place as long as I was there. And so I thought my leaving would be an event. And I thought maybe there'd be some formality, check my room. because I didn't even have them clean the room the whole time I was there. I just told them, nah, I'm okay, you know, I can clean the room. So they hadn't been inside the room the whole time I'd been there. I figured they'd have to go check the room first, but he barely looked up. You know, I just went up to the desk and showed him the key and check out, you know, and he's like, I went back to his ledger. Said, all right, no formalities. So, and then, yeah, I just got on my scooter and took off. I mentioned that I forgot to get gas, and that's an issue because the way with a scooter, how you would pack, of course, is you just take whatever bag you have. I don't have a backpack or anything like that, but I have this bag that I wrap up with a rope and then put it on the back, and I hold it in place with bungee cords and straps. It's a bit of a complicated affair to get a bag. You want it on there real securely, obviously. You don't want anything going wrong when you're scootering down the road going over bumps. So it's a lot of straps. I use all the straps I have, basically. And then, of course, to get gas, you have to dismantle that whole thing because you have to raise the seat in order to get at the gas tank. And to raise the seat, I have to lift off my luggage. So if I go to a gas station, I have to undo all the straps, put my bag on the floor, on the ground somewhere where I can keep an eye on it. Then I ride my scooter around to get in line. And then I get the gas, and then I have to ride back to my bag and put it all back on again. Pretty simple procedure, to be honest. But I was kicking myself that, for Pete's sake, you know, rookie mistake. You know you're going somewhere the next day. You know, you fill the tank the night before. It is what you do. And I had been thinking about it, but in my neighborhood there were no gas stations. Like my usual route that I would follow in and out of my neighborhood, I didn't pass any kind of a gas station. So I guess it just never occurred to me. Yeah, never really happened. So yeah, I set off and I followed my usual route. At the beginning, where it's just so much fun. Again, that's my favorite thing. I love getting to know a new city, a new town, and you become an expert in the layout of the streets. Day by day, you learn a little bit more, you become more confident in your riding. And by the time I left, of course, you know, I could have ridden that route blindfolded to go from my hostel to the river, across the bridge on the river, and then over by the big park, up the big hill, and then along the coast. And I pass all the places that I've already visited because I've ridden up and down that section of the road multiple times. And my plan was to come here to Painan and spend the night here. And I came up with that plan because each time I went down the coast, I was going a little bit farther and then returning to Padang. Then the next day, I would go to there again, then extend my trip a little bit farther, and then come all the way back. And where I wanted to go yesterday felt like it was going to be just far enough that I've passed the point of no return. That for me to get all the way there by this, you know, very slow, winding coastal road. This wasn't going to be the main highway. By the time I got there, it would have been a chore to turn around and come all the way back again. So I started looking for a place to stay at the end rather than coming all the way back. So that's why I packed up. And I found out about this place, this homestay in Painan. Actually, when I looked at Painan, it looked like an interesting place. It is on the main highway. So when I went down the ocean road through this beautiful, beautiful scenic area, the road, like a small road that goes through this peninsula, the main highway cuts across the base of the peninsula. But then eventually this scenic route rejoins the highway, and then Painan is 16 kilometers down the road on the main highway. So that's a bit of a chore to get, you know, you're back on busy traffic and everything. So I was wondering, should I do that, or should I just turn around and zoom back to Padang on the main highway? But I felt like I was in the mood for a change. New city, new restaurants, new streets to learn. Who knows what I'll learn along the way. And I felt like it would sort of, introduce some interest and excitement to my daily life, change a scene, basically. So I decided to do that. And then what sealed the deal for me was looking at Google Maps. And even though Painan was on the highway, it looks like a village kind of town. It's surrounded by high hills on all sides and has a nice beach area. just looks like a nice place, looks like a welcoming, kind of friendly, interesting looking town, just big enough that you could go to the local shop and get some ice cream or something, and yet small enough to have a friendly village feel to it, you know, just somewhere, a nice balance between being a place where you can live and go out for dinner. You know, you don't have to worry too much. You can just go outside, find food, and it also doesn't feel like a big city. You know, it feels like a friendly place, and it look beautiful too. And my plan for this morning is to get on the scooter and ride up to a lookout point, which is right over here on one of the high hills. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I may do that very, very soon. You know, I'm not usually a go somewhere for sunrise kind of person, but I may do that this morning, just to be up there as early as possible. So I better tell my story quickly here. In fact, I think I'm going to go right now. This room has a window. Hey, it's like, whoa, you know, yeah, I haven't had a window, I don't think, for quite a long time. So yeah, I've got a window here. I looked outside and the sky is already light, because I think sunrise is like at 6:20 and it's 6:30 now. So I haven't been wanting to get outside right away because the skies, even though when the sun comes up, the skies have been cloudy all morning and the sun doesn't come out until like mid-morning normally. But I think last night I was outside a little bit and I saw stars. Can you believe that? I saw stars in the sky. So yeah, so I think there might be clear skies. So I think I'm going to pack up and get on the scooter and head up to this lookout point just to get some early morning light. Not sunrise, but I'm too late for that. But at least I can get some early morning light. And then I'll finish telling my story behind the scenes, my small adventures from yesterday, you know, riding to get here. And then maybe I can add the story of going to the lookout point. All right, so I'm gonna get packed up, get my GoPros together, and head out. I'll be back in 1 second, as far as you can tell, but it's going to be a few hours until I see you again. I'll see you then. Okay, I'm back. For you, 1 second has passed. For me, 3 or 4 hours. It's now 11 o'clock in the morning. And I just jumped out of the shower again. I got pretty hot and sweaty during my explorations this morning. So I've taken a shower just to cool off, and I have my cup of coffee all ready to go. So the place where I went is called Puncak Langkisau, which is, Puncak I believe means viewpoint. Langkisau, I don't know what that means, but it's a viewpoint, and they do parasailing from up there. So pretty simple little trip. I just hopped on my scooter, steep hill. I found where, you know, the road started and went all the way up. Saw some nice views from up there. It was pretty early, so there wasn't any parasailing going on or anything like that, but I could see on both sides of the hill, because this hill has Painan on one side and then another town on the other side. So yeah, and then you can see up the coast in both directions. It's really nice viewpoint. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. And I came down and then I did some exploring right along the coast there. There's a big park where there's a mosque at one end of the park, and then there's a lot of, you know, small food shops and things like that. Everything was closed, of course. So I just walked up and down that park. And then I hopped on my scooter and rode to the beach. Actually, before I went to the viewpoint, I rode my scooter up and down the road right on the ocean in this town, just to see what was there. Looked like a very interesting area. There's a rocky section of beach, like a section of the beach with just rocks, like a breakwater, and then there's the other half is a sandy beach. So I thought after I go to the viewpoint, I could ride there, and I parked my scooter way on one end, and then I walked the full length of the beach from one end where all the, you know, the rocky breakwater is. There's a bunch of, you know, waterside places you can get coffee and simple food, stuff like that. And I walked along that, and then there's a sandy beach, and I walked the whole length of the sandy beach, and that's where you got some fishermen pulling in the big nets out of the ocean and things like that. And I got to the very end, turned around, and walked all the way back, and I had some breakfast there. I got a cup of coffee on the beach. They have all these tables set out on the sand, shaded by some really nice trees. So I sat there, had a cup of coffee, and I had some breakfast. I had lontong, like noodles with a kind of a peanut sauce and compressed rice cakes that they call lontong. And then I rode my scooter up and down some of the streets. I was just trying to get a feel for the town, just to ride a little bit more, see what there is to see, get a sense of how far it goes in each direction and what's out there. And then I came back here, showered, and I'm having coffee. So to finish the story from yesterday, I don't know that I have a whole lot to say. It was a really great day, a really enjoyable day. I mean, the scenery was levels better than I expected. I honestly had no idea how nice it was, the scenery along the coast there. And the road was so nice, nicely paved, curving and winding, going steeply up, steeply down. And every time you went over a hill, boom, another vista of the ocean, the coastline, and the islands, just over and over and over again. Beautiful views. And that's pretty much all I did. I mean, I stopped at the very first place, which was called Pisang River, Sungai Pisang, and it was a small fishing village, but they have a fairly significant tourism aspect to their economy as well. They run boats from there to go island hopping. And as I think I talked about that already this morning, that the whole day, everybody came up to me everywhere I went, asking me whether I was interested in going on one of these island hopping tours. And I generally just said, no, I'm not interested, because yesterday I wasn't interested. Like, even if I want to do one of these island hopping tours, I didn't want to do it yesterday because I had all my luggage with me. It was all, the day was already underway, and I was on my way here to check into this guest house. So it's not like I wanted to hop on a boat and spend the whole day out on the ocean. I wasn't prepared for that. I may still do one of these island hopping tours. I didn't think I would do it because I'm not really an island hopping tour kind of guy. I think the only way that I could do it is if I join a big group. Like, I can't do it by myself because it would be very expensive to hire an entire boat just for me. Plus, it would just feel weird. I remember I did that once years ago. It might even have been my very first trip to Bangkok. And I went there, and I was doing all the normal things you're supposed to do on your first trip to Bangkok. You go to see the Grand Palace, you go to see the floating market on the rivers, and then foreigners can rent these boats that take them up and down the river. And I thought, well, I might as well do that. I'm a tourist, and they have boats that take you up and down the river, the canals, the rivers and canals. So I was going to do that. But I was there by myself, and I didn't meet anyone there. I didn't meet any other foreigners. I didn't form a little group or anything. But then I went ahead with it. And then one day, a guy said, do you want to go for a boat ride? And I said, sure. So I rented the entire boat. And the whole time that we were on the tour, I just felt so silly because it was like a big boat that could probably seat 12, 16 people, something like that. And I rented the entire boat, and I'm sitting there all by myself, this one foreigner sitting on a boat and zooming up and down the canals. It was pretty silly. And one time in the Philippines, I went on another island hopping tour, and I joined a group. It was the company was fairly well organized, that you could buy a ticket for one person, and they take all these people and put them together to form one group to fill up one boat. So I spent the whole day with a group of Filipino people on this island hopping tour. And as beautiful as the islands were, as interesting as everything was, it really wasn't a very enjoyable day for me. For one thing, I just don't like tours. I just want to go rambling by myself. I don't want to be hemmed in on a schedule on one of these boats where they control where you go, how long you stay there, and it just feels weird overall. The boat pulls into a place. Okay, enjoy this place. You have 20 minutes, and you enjoy the place, and then you get back on the boat and you go to the next place. And the Filipinos were prepared for this. They had come as a big group, people that know each other, friends, family. They had huge coolers with them filled with food, and they knew what to do. Whenever they hit the beach, they just grabbed their coolers, plopped it on the sand, and then they had a big party and a big picnic, and they had music playing, and they were there to have a party on the beach. And that wasn't really my intention. Anyway, the whole day to me felt like a bit of a chore. I endured it rather than enjoyed it. So my instinct is not to get excited about island hopping tours for the most part. In El Nido in the Philippines, that's kind of an exception. I guess I got lucky or something, but I did all the boat tours in El Nido in the Philippines, all these island hopping tours, and that was just a fabulous experience. I did that years and years ago. I recently saw a video from Paddy Doyle where he went to El Nido, and when he was there, it seemed like it was much, much busier. Everywhere where his boat took him, there were already 10, 15 boats there, and everybody was snorkeling, and it was just so crowded. It just looked like a weird experience. But when I did it, for whatever reason, El Nido was empty, and my boat, we filled it as much as they could with a few people, and then everywhere we went, we had the whole place to ourselves. It just felt like a really nice day. I really enjoyed it. And then I did Tour A, Tour B, Tour C, and I did every boat tour that they offered, and those I really enjoyed. But for the most part, island hopping just doesn't jump out at me as something I really want to do. If it's easy to do and I have an opportunity, maybe I'll do it while I'm in this area, but I wouldn't count on it. We'll see. But yeah, that's what happened yesterday. Everywhere I went, people were asking me, and a lot of them had these laminated brochures with photos of all these islands, and they come up to me, they say Island. They say the English word, but they pronounce the S. So Island, do you want to go? And as I talk about in the main video, I really wish there was just more information, because they would basically say, are you interested in a boat tour? And maybe I am, but unless you provide me with more information to go on, I don't know whether I'm interested or not. Like when does it go? Where does it go? How much does it cost? You got to give me some details, and then maybe I can make a decision. But there was no way to really get any information out of these people, so I didn't get very far with that. But I parked my scooter there at Sungai Pisang, and then I just spent some time there walking up and down the beach. Once all the men understood that I'm not interested in a boat tour and they left me alone, then I could get out my GoPro and just walk around, explore the little place. I had a cup of coffee in a little stall there. And the main activity was beach fishing with nets. And this is something I've seen in many places in Sumatra along the coast, where they have a big, like an actual big fishing net, like something you would see on a large boat. But they would take it out on a small boat, almost like a canoe, this huge net piled into the canoe, and they just go offshore and then spread the net out in the water, and then they come back to shore on the boat trailing ropes behind them, and then groups of men on the beach, almost like a tug-of-war team, will line up holding the rope. They actually have a waist harness, like a belt with a hook on it, and they hook it on the rope, and then they all grab the rope, and then they slowly walk backwards, very gradually, 1 foot behind the other, and they just walk in. And then, because the net is hundreds of feet out in the ocean, and they have to pull hundreds of feet of rope, and they just gradually, walking backwards, pull the net to shore, and then drag it up onto the beach, and then they have the catch. And this is how they fish from the beach there. I don't know if this is common around the world, but that's how they do it here. And I got to watch a lot of that happening while I was enjoying my coffee. And then from that point on, it was just more of the same, incredibly beautiful winding road, beautiful scenery. Then I get to the next beach, park my scooter, walk up and down the beach, get back on the scooter, go to the next place and the next and the next. No real adventures to speak of. The only thing is that I could sense that my front tire was a little bit low on air. It felt mushy, the control of the scooter wasn't quite right. And just from looking at it, and you push down on the handlebars, it's like, yeah, looks like it needs some air. And I stopped at one place to like a little roadside mechanics place, and I could tell they had a compressor. And I just said I translated, Google Translate, can you check the air pressure for me? And he had a nice system there. He had a nice rig with a valve built into the airline, so he could actually put the airline on on the valve on my tire, and then press in the lever, and he can see the air pressure exactly. There's a needle, and you can just and just raise it right up to where it's supposed to be. And it was pretty clear the front tire needed a lot of air. The rear tire was okay because I had just put in a brand new inner tube when I got a flat tire when I was in Padang, and I guess he had pumped it up, but even that one was kind of low, and the guy had to top up the air to get it up to the right air pressure. And after that, the scooter felt better. I could feel it. It's like, oh, okay. And I had a lot more confidence now going around the corners, because the tire pressure was right. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Beautiful scenery. Gorgeous, wonderful day. Really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to going back because I'm going to ride, when I go back to Padang, I'm going to ride back on the same road and see all of that all over again. So I'm looking forward to that. Beautiful scenery. But again, not a lot to talk about, not a lot to say, not a lot of stories to tell. And then I got here and I booked a room here at the Bumimi Homestay. And I don't know whether the prices are always like this, but the main reason I booked this place, I mean, it had good reputation, good reviews, seemed to be in a good location. Everything about it was fine, but the price was quite good as well. I booked this room for 5 nights, and I got it for 90,000 rupiah per night. And just to put that in US dollar terms, I guess that makes more sense to people. It's not a great deal of money. Where is my, oh yeah, it is $6 US per night for this. And it's a large room, much better value than my room in Padang. The funny thing is, another reason why I left Padang to come here, I had many reasons to do it, but one of them was out of nowhere, the price for my room doubled. I was paying in Padang, I had a tiny room, probably half the size of this one, and one bed, one small single bed. This room is twice the size and has 2 beds in it. It's like a double room, two twin beds. And yeah, this is a much nicer room. Thick cement walls on all sides. The room in Padang was a house that had been converted into a hostel, so they just threw up a bunch of like plywood walls basically and created all these little prison cells. No windows. This room even has a window, which is pretty amazing. So this room is far nicer. But the one in Padang, I was paying around 100,000 per night, but the same as this one. This one's 90,000. I was paying 100,000 there, and then I was thinking about extending my stay by a couple of nights. But then when I went to Agoda, suddenly it was around 200,000 per night for the same room, the one that I was in. It went from 100,000 to 200,000 on Agoda. So I was like, oh, okay, so it's not such a good value anymore, because if you're going to pay 200,000 per night, you wouldn't stay in a place like that. 200,000 will get you a much nicer room than that. So it made no sense to stay there. And I found this place. Yeah, nice. 90,000 per night, $6. It's really nice. And online on the Google reviews, everybody was saying wonderful things about the woman who runs this place, kind of a grandmotherly figure. And I got the impression that she spoke English, and it turns out she does. But she wasn't here when I showed up. So I did struggle a little bit when I first got here because there was nobody here really. But there was a man sitting outside. There was kind of a work crew mixing up cement and putting cement to fill some potholes. And then when I indicated I was here to check into this place, he got up and then said, come, go into the house with me. So I assumed he was the husband. I think he is. I think he's this woman's husband. He's the man of the house. But unfortunately, I don't think he's the one that normally deals with guests. He doesn't speak a word of English, and he doesn't have any communication skills. So it's like, even if you don't speak the language, you can still communicate. You can communicate with Google Translate. You can communicate with body language, with understanding the situation, clues and context. But he had no skills at all, and I don't think he had any experience checking in a foreign guest. He just didn't know what to do with me. And he didn't seem to understand what a passport was. He wanted, he had a ledger he had to fill out, and he couldn't, of course, he says name, he wants to know what my name is to put it in there, and I tell him my name, but he doesn't know how to write it down. I give him my passport. I assume every hotel, they want to take a picture of your passport or make a photocopy of it. So I'm giving him my passport, but he's like, I don't know what to do with that. And I said, well, my name is in the passport, but he's looking at the passport like he had no idea what to do with it. And then my whole Agoda reservation, he didn't seem to have any idea what that was. He seemed to be asking me for money. He kept doing like money thing. He's pointing to something in the ledger, like, money, you have to pay. And I says, well, I've already paid, I'm using Google Translate. I'm showing him in Indonesian. No, I booked through Agoda, and it's already been paid in advance, and I'm showing him the Agoda reservation on my phone and the confirmation details. Here it all is. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking. He doesn't know what an Agoda reservation was. Anyway, we were not off to a good start, and I didn't have a good feeling about my arrival. I thought, oh, for Pete's sake, this is not going to go well, is it? But then he finally realized that we were not communicating, and that he seemed to think as long as he said something to me in Indonesia and kind of went money, if he did that enough times, I would eventually understand. He just seemed to think, well, if I do it 20 times, eventually this will, I'll be able to communicate with this foreigner. But it finally dawned on him that no, we were not going to be able to communicate. And then he went out and he came back with another man, a young man. I assume he is his son or something, another member of the family. And this other man took over. He spoke English, and it was just like, oh, Agoda. Oh, okay, you've already booked a room. How many nights is it? Oh, 5 nights. Okay, cool. Here's your key. And we're done. It was like, oh, thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness. And he showed me this room. The only weird thing is I'll have to look again, but I often book a room on Agoda, and when I read the listing, I can't really tell if it has a private bathroom or not. Like, it'll actually say shower or bathroom. And then this one did, so I thought, oh, it has its own bathroom. Very good. That makes it a very good deal. But then it doesn't. It has a shared bathroom down the hall. And as far as I can tell, there's only one. There's one combined, like it's like a bucket bath, just a big tub. And, you take a bucket bath, and has that, a sink, and a toilet. And all three of those were in the same room. And that's it on this floor. And I don't know how many rooms there are up here. I know there's one beside mine and another one over there. So maybe just the 3 rooms. But I think that is a 4-person room and another 2-person room. So you could have as many as 6 other people, plus me, because I think this weekend it's going to all be full. So everybody, and just at that one bathroom, and that can be a little bit of a problem, if you really need to go to the bathroom, but there's 6 other people in the morning, waiting their turn, you could end up in trouble. Plus, when you go into the bathroom to shower, do whatever it is you need to do in there, you feel like you got to hurry up because there could be so many people outside waiting. You need at least 2 bathrooms, for any kind of group of people. Having just one can cause a little bit of a log jam. So far, I don't know if there's anybody else here. I thought I heard other people, but I think I would have seen them if there's anyone else here. And that was kind of funny when the young man came who knew what he was doing and checked me into the room, and he said to me, oh, we have 1 room left. And I was thinking, don't say it like that, because you're implying that there could be no rooms, yet I made a reservation and I paid in advance because I wanted to make sure there was a room for me. But he was making it sound like, well, just by accident, hey, we have 1 room left. And I was like, what do you mean you have 1 room left? I mean, I reserved a room. And he says, well, yeah, we have 1 room left for you. Anyway, it was kind of weird. But anyway, whatever he meant, I have a room, and here I am. And then in the morning, I was taking a shower this morning, and I came out of my room, and it's kind of funny because, yeah, I mean, this sort of place perhaps is not entirely to my liking. It would be for some people, because this really is, it's a true kind of homestay. A lot of places in Sumatra are called homestays, but they're really just hotels. But this really is a house. And I think the family lives in the house in the downstairs area. So you do have the feeling of being in someone's house. Like when I first arrived, and this man, the guy who was doing the cement work, and he indicated I should follow him, he went into the house. And then it took me some time to catch up with him, because I had to take off my sandals, I had to take off my helmet, I had to do things. And then I went through the door. I'm pretty sure I went through the same door that he went into, but then I was basically just inside someone's living room. I mean, there's the living room, there's the kitchen, there's the hallway, there's the bathroom, I was inside somebody's house, and I thought, did I go through the wrong door? Like, did I go into the wrong building? So I go back out the door, and I'm looking around, like, oh no, this is Bumimi. And I go back in, and then I'm going from room to room, thinking I'm gonna scare somebody half to death, because I'm wandering around inside somebody's private residence. And then I had to go from room to room to room, and I finally found this man in another room. He was standing there waiting for me, but I didn't know where he went. He went into the house, and then he disappeared. And then I was wandering around this big empty house trying to find him. And I finally caught up with him. And then, as I said, I felt really weird about all this. And then when the young man came and he showed me this room, I wanted to find out from him, okay, so like, what are the rules here? Like, me as a guest, how do I go in and out of the house? Because it's your house, it's your family's house. I don't want to intrude. Like, what are the procedures here? Like, which door do I use? Because it looked like I had gone in the complete wrong door, because that went into their living room. And I said, that can't be right. They don't want me wandering through their house to get up here. And then I was like, well, like, which door do I use? And like, do you lock it at night? Do I need a key for the house and for this? And do I have to lock things behind me whenever I leave? Anyway, there are all these complications about just etiquette and politeness and being a good guest and security when you're staying in somebody else's house, if you see what I mean. I prefer the impersonal atmosphere of a hotel, where you just come and go as you please, and you just go out the lobby and back in through the lobby, and nobody cares when you leave in the morning or where you're going. Here, you're treated more as a member of the family as you stay here, because it is a homestay. And I can see a lot of people preferring that, liking that feeling, that warm, I'm a member of the family feeling, and it's not really to my taste. But anyway, so this morning I came out of the bathroom. I did, a bucket bath thing, and I shaved, and then I came out of the room. And then when I stepped out of the bathroom, the man was standing there. And as I said, he doesn't really have communication skills. His face is just like stone. It's just like blank. It looks very unfriendly. He's not, but he doesn't look friendly. And then he was looking at me, and then he kept saying money again. And I say, oh, not that. No, are we still talking about that? It's money, 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 money. It's 5:30 in the morning. Why am I talking to you about money again? And then why are you standing there waiting for me to come out of the bathroom? But it turns out he was not saying money. He was saying, I think, mani or mandi, mani. I guess he was trying to make sure I understood how to take a shower, or that I could take a shower. Like, in that maybe they've had foreign guests who are looking for the shower, and they don't know that the bucket is the shower. You just take the ladle and dump water on your head. That is the shower. And I think he was trying to make sure that I knew about this. And it's like, oh, you can take a shower. You can take a shower. That's what he was saying. He wasn't saying money. He was saying like mandi or mani, mandi. I just misunderstood. And I figured that out because later on, the woman showed up, the grandmotherly woman that everybody talks about. She was suddenly out here sweeping when I came out of my room another time. And she speaks English, and then she's very friendly, very warm, very nice. And then, so she spoke to me. Says, where are you from? And what are you doing in Indonesia? You know, Sumatra, all the questions. And then she also says, okay, so did you take a shower? You know about the shower? You took a shower, you know? So I guess they were very concerned that I know about the shower situation. So he and his wife were both checking up on him, make sure I knew about the bucket bath or something like that. Anyway, that was kind of funny. And I think that is about it, you know. After I settled in here, I did go out later on. I had dinner at a Mi Ayam Bakso place. Really nice restaurant just up the street here, about 600-700 meters, something like that. I'm going to be going back there for lunch and dinner again today. They make a really nice Mi Ayam broccoli bakso. And that they call it broccoli because the noodles are green. I don't know whether they actually use broccoli in the making of the noodles, or they just happen to have some kind of green noodles and they call it broccoli because it's green, or it actually has broccoli in it. I don't know, because I don't think I ever see broccoli here. I don't know if it's even an Indonesian style vegetable. But anyway, it was really, really good. Nice place, really friendly, big filling meal. So I'll be going back there again. That's where I went yesterday. And yeah, nothing else to say. Wi-Fi is great here. It's the first thing I checked when I moved in. So far, I'm having no trouble at all with the Wi-Fi, so that's cool. And yeah, went to bed last night relatively early. Woke up early this morning, and here I am in Painan. So that's it for my behind-the-scenes story for my trip from Padang to Painan yesterday. And that's it for now. Shutting down. See you in the next video.